Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam,
Brother Yardan.
Brother Right.
coming back at you with these precepts and another Monday Night Fire a live stream, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach, Kwamalak Yabushai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Yahweh Shai. A hearty shalom to you mighty men that go out there and labor and do the work of the Most High, presenting your body as a living sacrifice and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the Akwaf out there, reverencing their husbands, being submissive, guiding the households, keeping the commandments, unmarried and married, and all of the men out there building themselves up and being on fire and diligent in the last days. Shalom to everybody on the live stream, on the comment board. We're going into the hidden mysteries of Daniel. This is volume 1. We're going to go through the entire book of Daniel, right? Not tonight, but as much as we can get through. If we get through the first chapter, then we'll go to the second chapter. If we get to the second chapter, we're in the third chapter. If we get to the fourth chapter, we'll be in the fifth chapter, man. Right? So we're going to try to go through this entire, within the next couple of weeks, through all of the in-depth breakdowns of the book of Daniel, from the beginning to the end. All right? So let's deal with it. All right, let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 1 and 1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it.
Right, read that again, Baba Kishar.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim,
Right now,
king of
Jehoiakim is one of the kings of Judah. Right, you have to read the Old Testament to understand. Well, you have to read First Kings, Second Kings, even before that, First Samuel, Second Samuel, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, to know about Jehoiakim. You can't just read over that and say that don't matter. Right, that's one of the last kings of Judah. All right, in his 3rd year was I got the date 605 BC. Right, the 3rd year of Jehoiakim was 605 BC. That same year, Nebuchadnezzar came and did what? Unto Jerusalem and besieged it. Right? Now, Nebuchadnezzar, for those who are unaware, he's the king of Babylon during this time. Right? The Babylonian Empire from 626 BC till around 539 BC. Right? And you can read about that in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. Let's go to that. Right? Let's go to Daniel, the 7th chapter about Babylon. And I'll pull up a map of the empire. Right, bear with me.
verse 1.
Khan.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 1. In the 1st year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters.
Right, because Daniel was a prophet. Don't it tell you in the book of Numbers, the 12th chapter, the 6th verse on down, that if there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak to him in a dream. Right, so this is how Daniel received his visions. Right, we can
Daniel
go on.
spake and said, I saw my visions by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
Right,
And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
this great sea is dealing with the Mediterranean Sea, and Daniel actually saw, and the sea also represents the nations on a deeper level. But he saw these 4 beasts come up out of the sea, right? And these beasts aren't actually beasts, but these beasts are nations, right? Let's go to that. Let's prove that the beasts are nations. Baba Kashar. Right? Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. Let's get the fundamental precepts, 3 and 17.
This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 17. I said in mine heart, God shall judge the righteous and wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in
Right?
my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts.
See that? So men are beasts. Right? These 4 beasts are actual kingdoms. Let's go to Psalms chapter 49 and 20. And we're not breaking down the whole Daniel 7 chapter tonight. We're just giving a background of the Babylonian Empire. Looking at your screen, you can see this is the Babylonian Empire. All right. Here's the borders of the Babylonian Empire that actually took down and annexed the kingdom of Judah and all of Israel. All right. And this empire, again, is from 626 BC to the fall of Babylon in 539 BC. You know, let's get that in Psalms 49 and 20.
The Psalms 49 and 20. Man that is in honor and understandeth not is like the beast that perish.
You see that? So a man is highly esteemed of the world, but has no understanding of the Most High. He's like a beast that perish. Right? Let's go to Daniel 7 and 17. These precepts show that this beast that we're talking about, this lion with eagle's wings, it's not an actual beast, but it's a kingdom. Daniel 7 and 17.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 17. And it reads this: The great beast, which are our four kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
That's plain. That's plain. These beasts are four kings, straight like that. So let's read about that beast again in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter.
I got one precept too, Sluck.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You got it.
This is Baruch chapter 3, verse 16. Where are the princes of the heathen become, and such as ruled the beasts upon the earth? They had their pastime with the fowls of the air, and they that hoarded up silver and gold wherein men trust, and made no end of their getting. You know, so that beast is also the nations, and people, and
That's
men.
right. That's right. So let's read that about that beast in Daniel, the 7th chapter, one more time. Daniel chapter 7. Let's read 4.
This Daniel chapter 7, verse 4. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
So that's dealing with the Babylonian Empire. And we're not going to break Daniel 7 chapter down in depth. We just want to get the background of the book of Daniel. The background of the book of Daniel and the foundation lies within Israel going into captivity. You have 3 captivities within this Babylonian siege. You have one in 605 BC when Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, and mighty men were taken captive. You had another siege in 597 BC, and you had the closing burning of Jerusalem in 586 BC. That was done by this beast that we just read, the Babylonian Empire, right? So let's read Daniel chapter 1 and 1 again.
Salaki, I got a precept real fast.
Khan, you got it, King.
Going into what the brother was saying, I'm gonna read Daniel 7 and 4 again. It said, for the first was like a lion, right? So I'm gonna link that up with Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 6. Say, set up the standard toward Zion, retire, say not, for I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction. The lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy city should be laid waste without an inhabitant. Right, like the brother was saying, that's that lion, right? And when you go read the scriptures, right, the Lord used different animals, right, for different characteristics of man. Right, you got serpent, right, adder, right, you got eagle, you got horse, you got lion. You also can link that up with Nahum also, real fast. This is Nahum chapter. Let me see what I want. It's Nahum chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 10, just going into the lions, right? Just that's man. It says, take ye the spoil of silver, and take the spoil of gold, for there is none end of the store and glory out of all the pleasant furniture. She is empty and void and waste. The heart melteth, and the knees smite together, and much pain is in all loins, for the faces of them are all gathered black. Where is the dwelling of the lions, and the feeding place of the young lions? where the lion, even the old lion, walketh, and the lion's whelp, and none made them afraid. The lion did tear in pieces enough for his whelps, and strangled for his lioness, and filled his holes with prey, and his dens with raveling. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord. Now the Lord not against physical lions running around. These are men that the Lord has taken down. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will burn her chariots, and her smoke of the sword shall devour thy young lions, and I will cut off thy prey from the earth, and the voice of thy messenger shall no more be heard. Right? That's going into the falling of Venator, but just showing that men is lions also in the scriptures.
That's right. And looking on your screen, we got this pulled up. So you can't make this up. This is the Babylonian griffin. This is one of the chief symbols. Like Esau uses the eagle, or we use the lion, right? The Babylonians had a mythological figure called the griffin, which actually is a lion with eagle's wings, right? So that links directly up with Daniel the 7th chapter, even on a historical level. All right, so let's go back to that. All right, Daniel chapter 1 and 1. We're given the background before we go into Daniel the 2nd chapter, the 3rd chapter. Everybody want to go into the 11th chapter, the 12th, the 9th, the 8th, the 7th. We want to get the background, and within the background, we're going to touch on some dark secrets. All right, that lead up to the fall of this the kingdom of Judah. All right, and the rise of this Babylonian empire. Let's read that again. Daniel chapter 1 and 1.
Book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it.
Right. Now, here's looking on your screen, right? Here's the genealogy of the kings of Judah and Israel. All right. This is like you have to know the presidents in this society, or they teach you to know, the Roman emperors and all of that. You should know your kings, right? These are our kings. This is our history. We know all about the Chinese man dynasties. We know all about the so-called white man's leaders. But you ask a brother in the truth, can you name 8 of our kings? Hey, the brother, he can only say David, man, or Solomon. That's about it. He might say King Saul was wicked if he read the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel, right? But we have many kings, right? From Saul to Solomon. Now, the kings that we're focusing on, right, said the 3rd year of Salakia, of Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim is one of the last kings to rule. He's one of the sons of Josiah, right? Can brother see the timeline?
Come.
See if I can zoom in. All right, well, brother should be able to see it. Salakia. Right? So you had Josiah had 3 sons, Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, and Zedekiah, right? And these are your last rulers of what? Of the kingdom of Judah. Remember, the kingdom was divided into 2 parts. And as the Babylonians came into power, they took down the kingdom of Judah, right? And this was prophesied and written in other sayings in the scriptures, right? Let's get the history. Let's go to 2 Kings. All right, let's go to 2 Kings chapter 24 and 1 to link up with Daniel 1 and 1. Right? It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it. We want to link that up with the history. Let's go to 2 Kings 24 and 1.
The 2 Kings, chapter 24, verse 1. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him.
You see that? That's linking directly up with the scriptures. Read that again. These are the precepts. When you break it down, Daniel, the 1st chapter, and you're going through the history, you have to read 2 Kings. You have to. Or you're not going to get it. Right? There are certain breakdowns that we're going to go into tonight that if you haven't read the Old Testament, if you haven't read 1st and 2nd Kings or 1st and 2nd Chronicles, like Ezekiel 19 and 17, we're going to touch on, it's not going to register to you because you always want to read the book of Revelation. Or you always want to read the book of Songs, Song of Solomon, or 1 John. Right? Let's read that again, King.
2 Kings chapter 24, verse 1. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him.
Go on.
And the Lord sent against him bands of the Chaldees, and bands of the Syrians, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it,
See that?
according to the
See,
word
it's
of the
like you see,
Lord.
it was a conspiracy against Israel, man.
Right.
You got the Moabites in this thing. A lot of people think it was just the Babylonians. No, the Moabites, they got involved. The Ammonites, they got involved. The Edomites, they burnt down the temple. All nations, they linked up with Nebuchadnezzar to take down Israel at this time. What date is this? For the brothers taking notes, this is 605 BC, which is the first deportation of the children of Israel. In 605 BC, Jews were taken out of their homeland and sent into captivity. This is during the reign of Jehoiakim, written in 2 Kings chapter 24. Right? You had a precept, King?
Con, I do one.
Come.
The first Esdras, chapter 4, right? And I'm gonna start at verse 43. Then said he unto king, remember thy vow which thou hast vowed to build Jerusalem in the day that thou comest to thy kingdom, and to send away all the vessels that were taken away out of Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart when he vowed to destroy Babylon and send them again thither. Thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judah was made desolate by the Chaldees. So straight like that, man. Right? The Edomites, they filthy and they burned down the temple, man. Right? That's why you gotta go in these books like the brother was going out. You gotta link these things together through the spirit.
That's right. Right. And the Edomites didn't have no part in that, but they wanted to be the ones to burn down the temple. Right? That's what Psalms chapter 137 and 7 kicks off. Raise it, even to the foundation thereof. Because that was Esau saying that, man. Take him down, Nebuchadnezzar. That's what Obadiah links up, man. We're gonna go through those two, right? So that's the first deportation. And 605 BC, that's when Daniel was taken captive. All right, Daniel and his brothers was taken captive at that time. All right, so let's read on in Second Kings chapter 24. Jump to verse 8. Here's the second deportation. This is in 597 BC. This is the background of the book of Daniel. This is before Daniel even got there. We're showing you the background and prophecy. 2 Kings 24:8. Let's read that.
2 Kings chapter 24, verse 8. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Nathan of Jerusalem.
Right.
And
now
he
this
did
is
that.
Jehoiakim. Let me pull it back up the timeline. Right. These names may be similar. They may sound similar. Right. But they're not. They're different men. Right. The first one we read about, right, was Jehoiakim. This is Jehoiakim. See, that's what Jehoiakim, he's the son of Jehoiakim. All right, he's the son of Jehoiakim, right? So this is during his time, right? Around 597 BC, right? For the brothers writing it down. 597 BC is the second siege, for lack of better terms, or second exile of the Jews from Israel. All right, let's read on.
Verse 9. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done.
Right.
At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged.
And the what?
And the city was besieged.
Right. We had one siege already. Now here's another siege. Right. A siege isn't an overnight process, man. A siege is a meticulous military strategy, man. You got to cut off the water supply. You got to cut the food. You got to exile the slaves that's on the run. You got to put them in captivity. You got to knock the walls down. You got people on top of the walls throwing rocks at you, shooting arrows at you. You take a ladder and try to climb up, and they push the ladder back, Them, and then you go home at the end of the night if you survive. Then you keep doing that. Them sieges last years, man. Right? Let's go on.
It's like the same way Esau planned out how they're going to invade people in Syria and Afghanistan. It's the same way the heathen we're reading about right now. That's how they did it. That's how they exercised those sieges.
Con,
That's right.
I got a quick precept. The book
Con.
of Judah, chapter 7, right? And I'm gonna start at 7. And viewed the passages up to the city, and came to the fountains of their waters, and took them, and set garrisons of men of war over them, and he himself removed toward his people. Then came unto him all the chief of the children of Esau, and all the governors of the people of Moab, and the captains of the sea coast, and said, Let our Lord now hear a word, that there be not an overthrown in thine army. For this people of the children of Israel do not trust in their spears, but in the height of the mountains. So they doing crafty counsel, right? A besiege, and they trying to figure this thing out, right? This is not something like they just woke up in the morning and immediately besieged it, right? This is crafty counsel in the scriptures, man, wherein they dwelt because it is not easy to come up by the tops of their mountains, right? So if you go into war, you're going to know what's on the other side. You're going to know how many men there is. You're going to know the mountains, right? The escape routes. You're going to have these things in motion by the time you're getting ready to besiege. Now, therefore, my Lord, fight not against them in battle array, and there shall not so much as one man of thy people perish. Remain in thy camp and keep all the men of thine army, and let thy servants get to their hands of the fountains of water which issue forth for the foot of the mountain. Right, so they try to cut them off. But the point is that the heathen, they came together in crafty counsel, right, with a garrison and besieged the city. You got it.
If we watch certain movies and TV shows for the SWAT team, they got the blueprint. They got all the people that's in there. They know the exits. They cover it all up. That's what's happening. That's what we're reading about basically. And this is the illustrator Alice of Jerusalem, and it goes into them besieging Jerusalem. The methods, the brothers can see kind of.
That's 70 AD, right? That's what you.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is 70 AD one. How many soldiers they bringing in, the routes they taking. They understood some parts was more, more people over there. So, that's what it
These
is.
devils, they know you. They study you, man. Before you go to war, you have to have a plan, man. That's in the scriptures. And by counsel shalt thou make war. That's in the book of Proverbs, man. Right? The Lord says, before you go to war, you have to have a counsel. Before you go to camp, before you do things, you want to get things organized, man. And all of the heathen came together, right? Let's go to Lamentations 2:15 real quick. They all came together and they rejoiced at our downfall. Like it's in Ashan Dragon said, they had us eating our own children. But yet the Lord coming to save the heathen.
This Lamentations chapter. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, you got it.
This Lamentations chapter 2, verse 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?
So they was talking mess, man. But y'all thought this the kingdom? This what they said gold is counted as dust? Right? This where the wise King Solomon from, man. This, it don't look like it to me. That's what the heathen said, man. Everything burnt up, y'all in slavery. Right, go on.
Verse 16. All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash their teeth. They say, We have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day that we looked for. We have found her. We have seen it.
See that? They said we got him, and it's the day we was waiting on, praying on your downfall, man. Waiting for you to slip up, man. Right? It's always that one grimy Jake in the streets waiting for you to slip up, man, so he can take your place. That's how the heathen are, man. Man, I hope they're not keeping the commandments. Let's make them be in sin so we can further destroy the people, and the Most High don't have to rule over us anymore, man. Right? So that was the plan to destroy Israel. That's it on that.
Got one precept.
Come.
This Luke chapter 14, verse 31. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first, and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? The point is, even the kings, they meditate before they execute a plan and go all out war.
That's a mean precept. That's right. That's right. So let's go back to that Baba Kashah.
In 2 Kings 24.
Yeah, 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 10 again.
In 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 10. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged.
Right.
And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it.
Go on.
And
remember the
Jehoiakim,
date. I'm gonna keep repeating the dates because you gotta know history in the Bible. You have to. If you're a scholar, real quick, let's go to 1 Chronicles 25 and 8. If you're a student, if you're a teacher, mainly for you men, when you out there prophesying and doing the work, you got to know the dates. You got to know the history. You got to know a little bit of geography. You got to know the Hebrew. Got to know the Greek. You might have to know a little bit of Latin, right? You got to know these things, man. And you'll fare well. You'll have a higher understanding. Right? Let's get that real quick.
Second Chronicles.
1 Chronicles 25 and 8.
This is 1 Chronicles chapter 25, verse 8. It reads this. And they cast lots, wards against wards, as well as small as the great, the teachers as the scholars.
Right. You had scholars in Israel, man. You had teachers and you had scholars. Right. So you have to be a scholar in this thing, man. Right. What is a scholar? Somebody that's well studied. That's what a scholar is, man. They're into the books. They're here to learn. They going deep into this thing. It's one thing just to read the book of, like I said, 2 John. Right. All day you in 2 John. You meditating on 2 John all for 3 months. It's another thing to get deeper into this thing, man. Right? This is your book, man. You should love to get deeper into this thing. You know, that's not necessary for salvation, but we're speaking about doing the breakdowns. You got a yard down.
It's 2 Timothy 4 and 13. This Paul writing to Timothy. The cloak that I left at Troas with Carpus, when thou comest, bring with thee. Or bring my cloak, I forgot it. And the books, but especially the parchments. So Paul was going into, and I say, righteous books. He wasn't going off in the Gilgamesh epic and, the Hindu books at that time, but other books pertaining to the truth and other history books. Because you still had libraries back then. Jake, we had libraries. So he was going through it. And those parchments, those are just as letters, or that's a piece of paper. He had a lot of papers and notes. So even Paul had notes. Certain Jake think they too good for notes.
Yeah, Paul even knew about them poets. Remember, he said in Acts chapter 17, one of your poets of yourself said A, B, and C, man. That's Acts chapter 17, when he was up on Mars Hill. So he kind of knew about that thing, man. The Lord said in Sirach 5 and 15, be not ignorant in anything, in a great matter or a small. Right? And we dealing with a great matter right now, which is the in-depth breakdown. Yeah, bro, I don't gotta know that, brother. Didn't the Lord just say, don't eat pork, grow your beard out in grace? No, brother, it's more than that, man. You got a yard done.
I got something.
Oh, you got it.
I was just about to say, that's going into magnifying your talents too, man. And you can get sifted out this truth if you don't use what the Lord gave you. Like the brother says, not necessary for salvation, but if the Lord gave you a type of spirit to teach, go into these prophecies, every spirit not the same. And you got to use these things for the Lord take it from you and give it to the next brother. Next thing you know, you don't even want to read no more, right? You just don't have the same zeal because the Lord gave you a certain spirit that you're not using. So He's going to give it to the next brother.
That's right. Hey, it's like real quick, y'all done. One quick point. Hey, they do that in sports, man. If they know and they sign you because You ran a 4.3 combine. You can bench this much, and then you on the field, and you're not living up to what your talent, how the talent or the scouts, how they deemed how skillful you are. If you don't live up to that reputation, you're gonna get cut, man. You're not gonna be there, and they're gonna replace you. And your name on a locker. Let's say your name is so and so Jones. You're gonna get there one day for practice, and then it's gonna say so and so Smith. And they're gonna bring you to the office. They got TV shows like that, man. They'll bring you to the office. They'll sit you down and say, "Look, we've traded you. You're out of here." And that guy, he got to call his wife. He crying. He got to tell his son. He got to deal with it, man, because he was out turning up and having fun instead of doing his job. Slocky Yardan, I want to make that quick point.
It's Acts 17 and 18. Also verse 17. Now at 16. Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the one where you were speaking about him bringing out the poets.
Certain what? Which one you looking for?
When he was bringing out the poet.
That's Acts the 17th chapter, I believe.
28.
You found it?
28.
28.
Is it 17 and 28?
God. For in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring.
And I got a quick point. Now, this is where this comes from. It says these are two quotations from "And Him We Move and Exist" from the Cretan poet Epimenides. Right? So Paul knew about that. And that man was from 600 BC. And his Cretia, and the second part that Paul said, "But we also are his children," that's from the Sicilian poet Aratus, right? From 315 BC to 240 BC. Right? So Paul kind of knew that, man. Paul kind of got on a level. Paul got on a level and brought them in, man. So Paul was a wise master builder. Sometimes you got to do that with Jake, man. Right? You got to kind of get on a level, man.
And another point, like the brother said, you got to get on that level. You got to know certain history to be able to cut false doctrines too, man. Right? In religion, all type of man of science. Right? You got a well-rounded be level in history, like the brother was going out. Right? You can't just go out there and tell the brother straight up and down we're Israelite and then can't cut whatever they coming with, man. You got to know the understanding, the precepts, the history, all of that's going to make that Jake understand fully through the scriptures and it being made manifest.
You got to be like a professor of this thing, man. When you go to a sermon or a classroom, if you're a professor, he may know what he's talking about, right? He can know it, but how he presents his class and his lecture, if he's up there like, well, all right, today class we're going to learn about so and so, then you ask him questions that I don't feel like answering it. You know, he's not getting that in depth. He just went over the objective, said, you guys kind of go home. And you're not going to go to that guy when you got questions, man. Because it seems as though this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It seems as though he's not fit to teach what he's teaching, man. That's what the Lord said in 2 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, 23 and 24, that you have to be apt to teach. You know, they pass out aptitude tests in high school and college, man, to see how much you know. Here's the standard. We're going to give you a test to see how close you come to the standard. Where is your aptitude at? Here's the standard, right? You got an SAT. I believe you got to get a so-called 1600 back in the day. They might have changed it, right? But when I was in school, it was a 1600. And then you got to see how far you get in that thing, man. You know?
This is Sirach, chapter 5 and verse 10. Be steadfast in our understanding and let thy word be the same. Right? So if you have the understanding of whatever may be asked out on the highways and byways and your DMs or whatever anybody brings forth, you got to be steadfast in that understanding. You can't be wavering. You can't be saying anything. Right? You got to have that understanding.
That's right. That's right. So that's a good point. We back at it in Second Kings chapter 24, dealing with the background of the book of Daniel. For those tuning in, we're dealing with the background of the Babylonian history with the book of Daniel. Second Kings chapter 24. Where we left off?
12.
Let's read on.
2 Kings chapter 24, verse 12. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his princes, and his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign.
And if for brothers taking notes, the exact date is the month of April, 597 BC. That's when the second siege happened. The month of April, 597 BC. All right. Let's get another precept on that. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 52 and 8. All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 52 and verse 8. See, that's what we want. Precept upon precept.
Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 8.
No, I want 52 and 28.
Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 28. And it reads this. And this is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive. In the 7th year, 3,000 Jews and 23.
This happened. This exact precept that links up with what we just read in Second Kings. Right? Read that again. Jeremiah 52 and 28.
Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 28. This is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive. In the 7th year, 3,000 Jews and 23.
That's a lot of slaves, man. 3,023 slaves were led away captive. Right? Go on.
In the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, he carried away captives from Jerusalem 832 persons.
See that? 832 persons. Now, here's the route. I got this pulled up. Here's the route of the captivity, right? And you want to focus on a green arrow, right? The green arrow is the 605 BC, 597 BC, and 586 BC. Judah carried away. This is slave route, right? How we know the Middle Passage, and we know these different the Silk Road Passage. I believe you did a cold cut on that, the Silk Road slave trade, long time ago. Here's the Babylonian slave trade from Judah by the Euphrates all the way to Babylon and these other parts of their empire, right? And this is again that date 605 and 597 BC. This purple arrow is Northern Kingdom being taken captive, right? And this orange arrow are the replacements that the king put to replace Northern Kingdom in the book of 2 Kings, the 23rd chapter. So you want to kind of get into these maps too, so you can know what's going on. How far? Imagine they didn't drive. This is a walk. This had to take months. I believe it took how long Ezra to go from where was Ezra was in I can't remember the exact city of Persia and the Medes, but it took them a few months, man, to get back to Jerusalem so they can build the temple. So this journey had to be at least 5 months, right? So this is hardcore slavery, man. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 36. Let's get the curses.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 36. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
Right. Brothers always break that down as Babylon the Great. Yeah, it is talking about Babylon the Great, but that's not our only captivity. That's also talking about ancient Babylon, where our king was sent to serve other gods, man. You got it, Yarda.
Yeah, and I was gonna say just that. You got a lot of scholars to say, show me in the scriptures or show me a history where your king went into captivity. You gotta understand there's certain curses that they already, being in effect. Like even
Right.
Tobit, right? He said this is the prophecy of, I believe, Amos. You
Yep,
know,
yep, yep, yep. When his feast was turned into mourning.
Yeah.
Also, you got Jeremiah 39, right? You got the King Zedekiah going up against Nebuchadnezzar,
Yep,
right? All his men being slain and he fled.
yep, yep. That's the one in 586 BC that Amos quote. So that's the history behind this thing, man. So let's go where we at in Second Kings chapter 24, where we leave off.
2 Kings chapter 24, verse 13.
Oh, one more quick precept on that. Let's go to Leviticus 26 and 33. Because Leviticus 26 deal with the curses too. Right? Leviticus chapter 26 and 33. I believe that's what we want.
It's Leviticus chapter 26, verse 33. And it reads this. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste.
Because they came and destroyed Jerusalem, man. Right? They came and destroyed Jerusalem in 586 BC. They had a second siege in 597 BC, and a sword was drawn after us, which is our enemy. All right. Now Esau, he's the main sword in the last days, but you had other swords and weapons that the Lord used to destroy Israel at the time. All right. So let's read where we left off in 2 Kings chapter 24.
2 Kings chapter 24, verse 13. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said.
Yeah, that's madness, man. Cut up all of the gold, stole all the treasure. You can go on.
And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land.
See that? Save the poor of the people of the land. Right? Go on.
And so like that, you can see an account, a similar kind of that in that movie Apocalypto,
Yep.
right? When they left like the kids, the youngins, right? The 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds,
Yeah, that's true. And that's a good movie, man, with Northern Kingdom, man. Jake, you gotta check that out. It was going off. Right? Now, this siege that we're reading about, let's read that again, 2 Samuel 24 and 14. This one, Ezekiel was taken captive. Right? Ezekiel was taken captive during this time. The first siege in 605, Daniel was taken captive. All right. So when you're reading these prophets, some of these prophets, they live around the exact same time. Daniel, Ezekiel, Zephaniah, Habakkuk fed food to Daniel. Right? So you got to kind of know the timeline when you're reading this thing. All right, let's read that again.
It's 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 14. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land.
All right, go on.
And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon.
He carried Jehoiakim to Babylon.
And the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land, those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon.
Right.
It's like that's a bad way to go out. You got your wives with you, and you're going into captivity, your mother right there. That's embarrassing. That's a bad look. People kind of looking at you.
That's
they
horrible,
shaking
man.
their heads.
Yeah, so like now that you said it, that's exactly what the movie Apocalypto looked like, man. When they was getting screaming, right? Everybody was looking down, had the yokes of iron, had the yokes of wood on their neck.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man.
And it was a long walk too.
Yeah.
People in the mountains and everything.
Yeah. People was
getting tired, falling off.
And there's no account on how many Israelites died during this trail. We talk about the Trail of Tears, right? Andrew Jackson, the devil, had the Indian Removal Act, and they forcibly removed Gad and Reuben from Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, South Carolina, across to Mississippi, put them in Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, right? And millions of them died through smallpox, freezing to death. They killed the sick. And this journey is longer, man. This journey from Jerusalem to Babylon, you got to cross the deserts and scorpions and snakes and sicknesses, man. There's no telling how many Israelites of this actually made it over there, you know?
Because in this study Bible right here, it says that happened in 598 BC, and Joachim had died before Nebuchadnezzar could reach Jerusalem.
That's right.
So he died before he even got a chance to go.
You see that?
Yeah, that's what happened with the.
Oh, go ahead.
It's lucky. That's what happened with the transatlantic slave trade. You know, people gave up the ghosts, and the prices going to Babylon. Or, Egypt 2.0.
And a lot of them committed suicide. We brought that out in the Sabbath service with the brother from the Maccabees, man, who took his guts out and his organs out and threw it at the Edomites. Said, I'd rather go out like that than be a slave, man. Hey, Saul said, kill me lest these uncircumcised Philistines abuse me, man.
Yeah.
You know? Because there's no telling what they was going to do to King Saul. King Saul was giving them hell. You know? And you see how they disrespected King Saul's body, man. They chopped his head off, his arms off, and put it on the wall. And the mighty men came and got that body back, man. You know? And gave him a burial. Right? So let's read on.
And so real fast, even in war, that's why when you be seeing like the war movies and stuff, they be telling their commander to go ahead and kill him, man. Lest the enemy get him, right, and torture them, right? You be down there in the basement for months.
Yeah.
They just take me out, man. Because all hell will be breaking loose.
That's what they kind of said with Hitler. You know, if it played out that way, they say he's trying to kill himself because he don't want to be captured by the Americans. And, they was going to take him in alive and kind of do stuff to him. You know.
Now I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Bear with me. The link up with brothers pulling up. Even when you go to the siege of Masada, right? The siege of Masada was during the Roman Jewish wars. You had the Sicarii, not the camp, not the brothers that be bringing it out, but you had an actual military or political faction called the Sicarii, right? Back in the ancient times, that's where they get their name from, which were highly skilled assassins, right? Real quick, let's go to man, that precept, I just lost it. Acts chapter 21, 28. Real quick.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 21, verse 28.
No, that's not. I want art not thou that Egyptian?
Oh yeah, I got it.
Oh, that's 22.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, I just had it, just escaped me.
Is that 38?
What is it? You gotta shake the dust off that precept.
This Acts chapter 22. This one is 21.
It's 21.
This one is 21. Okay.
38.
Yeah, 38. I said 20.
Verse 38. Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers?
Can I read that again, King Bible Kashar, one more time while I pull this up?
It's the book of Acts, chapter 21 and verse 38. Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers?
Now, you're going to find out that that wasn't an actual Egyptian. That was an Israelite living in Egypt, right? Now, we're going to prove that when you go to the Greek, when it said that this man led out 4,000 men that were murderers. When you look up that word murderers up in the Greek, it literally says Sicarii or the Sicarios. Let up. Again, in the Sicarii were dagger men, assassin Israelites. You didn't have African Egyptian members in the Sakari, or Edomites, or Moabites. These were Israelites, zealots, right? So it says an assassin. Here's the definition for these murderers. It's literally the Sakari who tried to overthrow. You had this one chief Israelite from Egypt who gathered a lot of Israelites, murderers, with the so-called white men were called murderers, but they were against Sakari, who tried to overthrow the Roman Empire with 4,000 men, right? And Paul got mistaken for that man, right? It says one who carries a dagger or short sword under his clothing, that he may kill secretly and treacherously anyone he wishes, a cutthroat, a Jewish fanatic outlawed by the Romans. Why they call it a murderer. You see that? Now, dealing with the suicide at the siege of Masada, right, which was the final events, like they say, for the first Roman Jewish war from 73 to 74 AD, the siege is known to history via Flavius Josephus, a Jewish rebel leader, which is really just an Israelite, captured by the Romans, and whose service he became a historian. According to Josephus, the long siege by the troops of the Roman Empire led to the mass suicide of the Sakari rebels and resident Israelite families of the Masada fortress. You see that? So them brothers, man, they committed a massive suicide. I believe they killed their wives, they killed their children. Then they all lined up in a circle and they stabbed each other in a circle. That's how you do a mass suicide. You get like 50 men, everybody turn around, you just stab the man in front of you in the back. While you getting stabbed in the back, everybody just dropped dead at the same time. Where everybody cut off each other's head. So you gotta be kind of crazy to figure that thing out, man. You know? So let's go back to 2 Kings chapter 24.
Yeah, Jake. That's
man.
Be in a different mind state to do that.
Yeah, that's heavy, man. And that war, man, that was a long war. You got to go to the history in that thing, man. They lined up in a circle and just stabbed each other.
So, like, imagine the honor that these brothers probably felt. Like, look, we're not going to let these people put us to death. These Edomites, these dirty Edomites, put us to death, man.
Right.
Because if you look at the history of the battles, it took them like 7 times to even try to get into Jerusalem.
Yeah,
it took them a long time.
They got documentaries on that, man.
Yeah.
And the Romans was trying their hardest. They had to build a land bridge, man. Because Masada is like a top of a mountain. It's like trying to take over a skyscraper. People on top of a skyscraper. So they had to build a land bridge when you go through it. Brother, you got to go into that history, man. Yeah. And they had to kind of go up there. And then you had Israelites. You had brothers underground. We had built underground tunnels. And we built dynamite. We had like bombs that we was building so we could blow up they land bridge, man. So Israel was going all out, man, with sling stones, bomb, dynamite, assassins. Right? Why did Jake you think that we was monkeys swinging on a Esau? What you think that we was monkeys swinging on the highest branch in New Guinea, Africa, man? You know?
So, like, Israel was getting with them so bad, they had to build a wall around a wall so that we couldn't get any resources. That's how strong our forefathers were, man. Wow. They were destroying every Edomite that came close to that wall.
It was the first assassins. Jake might have played the game Assassin's Creed and thought Esau is the face of it. That was us. That's where they got it from.
That's right. That's right. So we going through the history, man. All right. So now we in 2 Kings 24 and 17, or 16 and 17.
In 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 16. And all the men of might, even 7,000 in craftsmen and smiths, 8,000, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon.
Right.
And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah.
Right, Zedekiah. Now that's Jehoiakim's uncle, right? And let's read 2 Kings 25, 1 through 8.
The second Kings chapter 25. And it came to pass in the
Slakia,
ninth
we're
year.
only going Slakia King. We're only going through 2 Kings to give you the background of the book of Daniel. All right, we give you the foundation. Right. So let's read that again. 2 Kings 25 and 1.
The second Kings chapter 25, verse 1. And it came to pass in the ninth year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his host, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts against it round about.
Right.
And the
Like Amos just said, they built forts round about it so they can besiege it. They did that at 7. That's an ancient military tactic. Right.
And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, that there was no bread for the people of the land.
That's what Lamentations is about. If you've read Lamentations, chiefly the 4th chapter, it speaks about the horrible famine that we was dealing with during this time. All right. You can go on.
And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between two walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldees were against the city round about, and the king went away toward the plain.
So the king fled. He's trying to flee the siege. Zedekiah, right?
And the army of the Chaldees pursued after the king, overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army were scattered from him.
Right.
So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon, to Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him.
Yeah, that's horrible, man. We're going to do that to the heathen, though, in the kingdom of heaven. We're going to bring them to Jerusalem. That's Obadiah 1 and 21. The Savior shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mind of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. So we're going to do that to these heathen, man. We're going to execute judgment on them. All right, go on.
And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with fetters of brass, and carried him to Babylon.
The last thing he ever could see was his sons dead, man. Then they put out his eyes. That's some savage, hardcore stuff, man. The last thing you ever going to see with your eyes is me killing your sons. You know? Go on.
And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of the king of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, into Jerusalem.
Right. So that's dealing with the siege. We went through Jehoiakim, and Zedekiah. Right. That's the background of the book of Daniel. We're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 17. Right. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 17 and read about this more, because Ezekiel actually, this is a dark saying that we're about to go into, which focuses on the destruction that we just read about in 2 Kings 25. When you read 2 Kings 24, 2 Kings 25, Ezekiel prophesied about that and the dark sand that we're going to break down in Ezekiel chapter 17, as well as Ezekiel chapter 19. This is all the background and the foundation you need to know even before you get into the book of Daniel. All right, so let's read that.
Ezekiel chapter 17, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle, and speak a parable unto the house of Israel.
And so this Bible deal with riddles, man. Right? So everybody can't get it. Go on.
And say, Thus saith the Lord God, a great eagle with great wings, a long wing, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came into Babylon, and took the highest branch of the cedar.
This isn't literal. That's why it's a riddle. It's a dark stand. Let's read it again and break it down.
From verse 3 or 2.
From verse 3.
And say, Thus saith the Lord God, a great eagle.
The great eagle is not Esau. Ezekiel 17 is one of the few accounts where this eagle isn't making reference to the so-called white man. This eagle, as we break it down, you'll see, is talking about what we just read about the Babylonian Empire, Nebuchadnezzar, his empire from 626 BC to 539 BC. He's the great eagle. You got a precept, Yardan?
Right.
Yeah.
Verse 4.
No, 3. A great eagle.
Oh,
We can read what we
3.
left off.
Slacky. Verse 3, and say, thus saith the Lord God, a great eagle with great wings, long winged, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came into
That's parabolic for all of the empires and kingdoms that they took down. Like when the bird lays his wingspan or nests upon something, they have dominion over it. Diverse colors from the different kingdoms that they took over. Right? And what did this eagle do?
came into Lebanon. And took the
Lebanon is Israel. That's what it's speaking about. You may say, well, that's actual Lebanon. No, this is a metaphor. Remember, it's a riddle. So it's not literal. Nothing in this thing is literal. Sometimes in the scriptures, the Lord referred to Lebanon as something beautiful, something precious, with great smells and great scents and tall trees. The Lord is comparing the beauty of Lebanon to the nation of Israel. This eagle came to Israel, right? The Babylonians came and besieged Judah, right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah 35 and 1. Right? Let's prove that though. We're not going to make it up. We're going to prove that Lebanon is in its riddle is speaking about the land of Israel, chiefly the southern kingdom.
I got a precept too.
Come.
He said,
we're going to Isaiah chapter 35. We're going to read 1 and 2.
This book of Isaiah chapter 35, verse 1 through 2. And it reads this. Sticky pages. The wilderness, like Isaiah chapter 35, chapter 1. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them. The desert shall rejoice and blossom at the rose.
Right.
It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it. The excellency of Carmel.
The glory of Lebanon shall be given to the wilderness. Why does the Lord glorify Lebanon? Because back in the ancient times, Lebanon was one of the most outside of Israel beautiful, glorified places to go to, bro. Right? That's why the Lord said the glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it, and the excellency of Carmel. You had a precept dealing with it?
I got one after you.
Come.
This right, chapter 24, verse 13. So verse 12. And I took root in an honorable people, even in the portion of the Lord's inheritance. I was exalted like a cedar in Lebanon, and as a cypress tree upon the mountain of Hermon. Right? So the trees in Lebanon was beautiful. Right?
That's right. That's right.
The book of Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 12. A garden enclosed, my sister, my spouse, a spring shut up, a fountain sealed. Thy plants are as orchards of pomegranates with pleasant fruits, comfire and spinnarts and saffrons, primrose and cinnamons with all thy trees of frankincense, myrrh, aloes with all thy chief spices, a fountain of gardens as well as the living waters and streams from Lebanon. So what's that living waters? The knowledge, and it's the stream going to Lebanon.
That's right. I believe in that 11th verse. Don't it speak about his the garments that smell like Lebanon? Right? It says something to that effect.
Verse 11. Thy lips, O my spouse, drop as the honeycomb. Honey and milk are under thy tongue, and the smell of thy garments is like the smell of Lebanon.
So the Lord big up Lebanon, man.
Yeah.
He constantly ate the glory of Lebanon, right? Not talking about what you go to now, man. Right? I believe modern day Lebanon is Lebanon. That's still the so-called. What did they change the name of it? They ain't
Nah, it's
changed the
still
name
there.
of it.
It's still there.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
still
desert,
there.
I think.
Yeah, it's a desert now, though. It's a desert. You know, they be changing the names of these places. It's still there, man, but it don't look like how the Lord described it, the glory of Lebanon. Even the smell of that land, man. It didn't smell like rats in Baltimore and rusted metal. There's Lebanon. You see that?
Yeah, I was just about to. Okay, yep.
Look bad out there.
It looked
I
real
got
bad.
pizza too.
Uh,
It looks sloppy.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks awful. It looks like war. It looks like a war-torn country now.
Uh, yeah, that's bad.
This Hosea chapter 14, and I'm gonna start at verse 4. I will hear their backsliding. I will love them freely, for my anger is turned away from him. I will be as the dew unto Israel. He shall grow as the lily and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. Right? Like the brother was saying, Lebanon was so beautiful. It probably looked like I can't even describe it. Probably had beautiful forest on this side, beautiful gardens, lilies, everything that's beautiful. Plant enthusiasts would love to go to Lebanon.
That's
Right?
right.
Verse 5. I will be as the dew unto Israel. He shall grow as the lily and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. His branches shall spread, and his beauty shall be as the olive tree, and his smell as Lebanon. Right? They that dwell under the shadow shall return. They shall revive as the corn and grow as the vine. The scent thereof shall be as the wine of Lebanon. So everything beautiful is in Lebanon, right? You got Psalms 92 and 12. It says that the righteous shall flourish like a cedar in Lebanon, right? So everything big, beautiful, majestic is in Lebanon. And it's always going to be compared to Israel because that's how our redemption is going to be. It's going to be a complete 180. Right now, we look like modern day Lebanon.
Right.
And in the end times, when Yahushua comes back and delivers the 144 and the elect and the 1/3, they're going to be like, what's the most beautiful place in the world right now? Like Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like how beautiful Hawaii is. That's how the nation of Israel is going to look compared to what we were before.
Come on. So brothers dropped the precepts. That's why the Lord. Let's go to Daniel 8 and 9. Because the Lord, how we about to show you straight up, the Lord is comparing Israel, that beautiful land, to Lebanon in Daniel 8 and 9.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn,
That's
which
Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth.
waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land.
What's the pleasant land? The land of Israel, the glorious land. Let's go to Psalm chapter 48 and 2, man. All right, that's the pleasant land. All right, not now. Don't try to go there now. You in Tel Aviv, or Tel Aviv is the homosexual capital of the world, along with Madrid, Spain, and Atlanta.
San
Gay land.
Francisco.
Con. Let's bring that out. Psalms 48 and 2. And we're going through this because the parable said this eagle came to Lebanon. Remember, it's a riddle, not an actual eagle and not actually Lebanon, but Nebuchadnezzar coming to the beautiful land of Israel. Right? Psalms chapter 48 and 2, I believe. That's what we need.
Psalm chapter 48, verse 2. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion.
See that? Straight up. Beautiful for situation. Nice, highly elevated on the mountain, man, with fir trees and aloes and rivers of all and the weed and the hey, man. Read Deuteronomy the 8th chapter. We went into that earlier this week, man. It's beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth. Back then, people wanted to go to Jerusalem for vacation, man. Now you want to go like Amos said to Hawaii, or you want to go to the Bahamas. Hey, back
Fiji
then,
Islands.
you said what?
Fiji Islands.
Yeah, you want to go to Fiji. Hey, back then, everybody wanted to go to Jerusalem, man. Read First Kings, the 10th chapter. Queen of Sheba, at her spare time, she went to Jerusalem, man. You know? So let's go back to Ezekiel chapter 17, right? And 3 again, right? We know who the eagle is. We know what Lebanon is. Now we have to deal with the last part of that precept in Ezekiel 17 and 3.
This is Ezekiel chapter 17, verse 3. I'll read from the top. And
Remember, this is
say,
a riddle. Salakia King. It's a riddle.
and say, thus saith the Lord God, a great eagle with great wings, long winged, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came unto Lebanon and took the highest branch of the cedar.
The cedar is dealing with the kingdom of Judah, right? And the Bible, trees are referred to as men. The highest branch from the children of Judah is the lineage of King David. That's the highest branch, right? When you pull up, I pulled up the list of kings of King David. Just like you have a family tree, right? Every man produces a family tree, and your offshoot of your branches. Right? I believe that's Isaiah. Let's get Isaiah 11:1. The highest branch of the cedar is the bloodline of the king of David, from David to Rehoboam to Assad to all of the kings. Let's get a precept on that. This precept for family tree right here, man. That's where you get it from the Bible. Isaiah 11:1, Baba Kashar.
This is Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots.
See that? And that branch in that context is the offspring of David or Jesse, which is Yahweh Shai. In this context, the highest branch of this cedar, since we're dealing with the Babylonian siege, is the bloodline of David. It's not the house in the ball. That's not the highest branch. It's not the house. It's not the Rechabites, like we were talking about earlier. It's the bloodline of the house of David, right? And let's get like 3 precepts on men being trees, just for brothers may not know, right? You got any off the
Revelation
top? Come.
chapter 9. Jump down. Verse 4. Let me get the other one.
What, the 8th chapter?
Where's that at? They're part of the trees.
It's Revelation chapter 8 and 7.
Oh, I see it. This is Revelation chapter 8, verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up in a perfect amount.
Right, you see that? That's man. It's not actual grass and actual trees. That's a complete amount of man that's going to be destroyed by the plagues of World War III, the missiles. Right?
God,
that's why that cedar. Oh, go ahead, King.
Salaki, go ahead. I'll let you finish. My bad.
I was going to say that's why that cedar is dealing with the Judites, the kingdom of Judah, but it's speaking about a specific family line that came from Judah, which is the bloodline of David. And we're going to prove that as we read on too. You got it.
God, this is Mark chapter 8 and 22. And he came to Bethsaida, and they bring a blind man to him and besought him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw aught. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. Right? So Yahweh Shah cleared the blind man. He said, what do you see? I see men as trees walking, which is parabolic for men and nations. Right? And then you got, I'll get another one.
Go ahead. You got it.
Go ahead. You got another one after you.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23 and verse 5. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. Right? That's not physical. Right? That's Yahweh Shah, man. You're going to raise that righteous branch. Just like the brother linked that up, right? With the book of Isaiah 11 and 1. A righteous branch and a king shall reign and prosper and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth.
That's right. That's a cold cut.
This is Isaiah 66 and verse 15, the classic. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one tree in the midst eating swine's flesh. Right? So what are these people doing? They hiding behind customs of other men. Right? In the garden is known as these other nations, and behind the trees is known as other nations. Right? Eating swine's flesh, trying to blend in with them. Right? And the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
That's right. That's plain. So
This
brothers
is Ezekiel.
understand that the highest branch of the cedar is dealing with the bloodline of David. This eagle came, went to this land, went to this specific tree, and plucked off one of the top branches. Right? And what is he going to do with this branch? Oh, you have something else?
God,
Yep.
this is Ezekiel 36 and 8. But ye, O mountains of Israel, ye shall shoot forth your branches, and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. Right? Just showing how Israel, being personified as a tree.
That's right. So let's go read on Ezekiel chapter 17 and 4. Again, this eagle, Nebuchadnezzar, besieged the land of Israel. He took the highest branch, meaning he's dealing with the house of David, the bloodline of David. Let's see what else he's going to do. Ezekiel chapter 17 and 4.
Ezekiel chapter 17, verse 4. He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of traffic.
Uh-oh, now he took one of the young twigs off of that branch. So what king did he carry captive to Babylon from the house of David? Jehoiakim. The land of traffic is Babylon, ancient Babylon, the top empire. He took the top twig from the house of David, Jehoiakim, and we just read that in 2 Kings 24 and 25 that he led him away captive to Babylon, man. All right, let's go back to that. Let's prove that again in 2 Kings 24 and 14. Ezekiel 17 lines directly up with 2 Kings 24 to a T, but it's parabolically written. You got to kind of fill in the blanks, like 2nd Esdras, like Daniel 11th chapter, through the spirit and the precepts.
2 Kings chapter 24, verse 14. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained save the poorest sort of the people of the land.
Right.
And he carried away Jehoiakim.
That's
to
him taking
Babylon.
that's him taking a young twig. He carried away Jehoiakim, and what else?
To Babylon, and the king's mothers, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon.
See, we just read that. So now you're saying you filling in the blanks. As we go through Ezekiel 17, we're corresponding it with 2 Kings chapter 24, 25 in the history and other precepts, so you can paint, so we can give you the clear understanding on what Ezekiel 17 is talking about, the background of the book of Daniel. Right? Even before you go to Daniel, you have to break down Ezekiel 17. All right, because it gives you the foundation about how Jehoiakim and these different kings was carried away captive. All right, let's read on. In Ezekiel chapter 17 and 5.
Can I read your report again, Baba? Sure.
Yeah.
I want to bring out a point. He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of traffic. He set it in the city of merchants. And that traffic, that's a lot of business, that's commerce. And, similar to now modern day Babylon, right? What's going on? A lot of business and transactions, right? Like saying in the book of Revelation, you got the souls of men going in and out, literally, all right? These wicked top officials and elites, they send little boys and girls all the way to Saudi Arabia, all the way to Greece, all the way to Rome, right? Importing and exporting, right? Even spices and myrrh and gold and steel, right? And fruit and things of that nature.
Now, I'm gonna link that up, Yard. I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Now, you said, what'd you say traffic was?
Is business is where a lot of heavy movement is. Like, Jake used the term traffic now, when you stuck in a car. It wasn't that type of traffic where Jake was stuck in a car going to Jerusalem to Babylon. Or is you got to bring it up.
Con. So this from the online etymology of the word traffic, right? It means trade or commerce. Like if you own a city, you want there to be traffic, because if there's traffic, people are making moves. People going to the grocery store, people going to the bank, people going to this place, and your city making money, man. If you have a ghost town, obviously you're not going to make no money. If you have constant traffic jams and trade and commerce, your city is going to make money. That's why Babylon is called the land of traffic. Now, this word from the Italian trafficare, which means to carry on trade, right? From the Latin, meaning trans, meaning across, and fricare, meaning to rub, right? With the original sense of the Italian verb being repeatedly touching or handling, constant money laundering, money traffic, money trade, right? That's what traffic is, man. It's not always you stuck on I-95 for 4 hours, right? That's how you looking at it, because we got this mentality. But these devils, they looking at it, yeah, they getting money. We getting money, man. They counting their pockets, man. You buying gas, all these things happening, man. That's why Babylon is the land of traffic. Just like Yardan said, modern day Babylon. All right.
You can read in Revelation 18:11 on down, the merchants, buying and selling, ultimately going to seeing the destruction of Babylon, but it goes into what they sold and what they imported and exported.
Con.
I believe even, correct me if I'm wrong, Ezekiel the 27th chapter.
Yep. Ezekiel 27, that deal with Tyre and Zidon, and how they had trade with every nation under the sun. Even Judah was involved in that, man. You just gonna pull it out, or you want to go back to it?
We'll go back to it.
All right. Ezekiel chapter 17, and let's read 4 and 5.
Ezekiel chapter 17, verse 4. He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of traffic.
Nebuchadnezzar took Jehoiakim and put him in slavery in Babylon.
He set it in a city of merchants.
Right.
He took also of the seed of the land and planted it in a fruitful field. He placed it by great waters and set it as a willow tree.
Now, what is that talking about? Let's read it again.
He took also of the seed of the land.
He is this great eagle, Nebuchadnezzar. What happened in history after he took Jehoiakim and put him in Babylon? We just read that he set up Zedekiah, right? In 2 Kings, he set up Zedekiah, which is the seed of the land, because Zedekiah is related. He's the brother of Jehoiakim. So he set up a puppet king. Remember, he changed his name to Zedekiah. All right, the fruitful land is that same Lebanon. He set him up in the land of Israel as a puppet king, right? And it says he placed it by great waters and set it as a willow tree. So we went from being a cedar to a willow tree. How does a willow tree look? Is a willow tree mighty? Do you go to a willow tree and say, well, damn, that's a powerful, mighty tree? No, a willow tree is sad. It's depressive. It hangs low. I have to pull up a picture. Brothers may not know.
In our old childhood home, the old one, I believe we lived next to a tree that looked similar to a willow tree. Or it might have been a willow tree. It just hung down real low. You look at it, you kind of hang down your head.
Yeah.
Because it's sad. It's a sad looking tree.
Right. And here's a willow tree. Right. So the house of David was a cedar, but now that we're in slavery and Zedekiah is a puppet king, the Lord called him a willow. Right. A submissive, lowly tree. That's Psalms chapter 137, I believe, too.
Con, I was about to get that.
Con, you got it.
Con. It's the book of Psalms. All right, chapter 137. Somebody bear with me. All right, 137 and verse 2. I'm going to read 1. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps, our joys, our song, man, right? Everything upon the willows in the midst thereof. So all this is parabolic, right, through the spirit. Like, that's not physically saying we took all of our harps we used to play on and we hung them up, right, and then we got into chains, man. Right, harp, our song, right, our heritage, everything just got snatched from us, right, and they hang them upon the willows, something sad, something drooped down, right, and the midst thereof, for they, Salakia, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of those songs of Zion. Just like they did, right? Sing us one of them nigga songs, man. Clap for me, dance for me. Knocking on the wood in the middle of the night, having you play the damn violin, man.
Right. And like they said on the live stream on the comment board, they call it the tree of tears or the weeping willow. I've heard the weeping willow before. I never heard that it was called the tree of tears, but I can understand why, man. You know? So this is the same thing, like Araya was saying. They did that in the ancient times. Sing us one of the songs of Babylon, man. Right? Where's the Levites at? Sing us one of those songs. Dance for us. Like he said, they did that now, man. On New Year's, Christmas, guess what? You're performing for the so-called white man. Read First Maccabees, Second Maccabees, chapter 6, and 6 on down through 9. In the king's birth, or every month, we have to be in the damn parade, man. And the feast of Bacchus, carrying ivy, man. Dancing and stepping and fetching and cooning for the so-called white man, even during the time of Antiochus. You got it, Yardan.
And Jake that participate in that, they might not think of themselves as a coon, but they're a coon. Because you know,
Right.
you dance for master, you know.
And you had Ben Carson crying, man.
Van Jones.
That was
Van Jones.
yeah.
That wasn't Carson.
No, it's Van Jones.
Okay, so like, see that Van Jones. Well, Van Jones not going to make it, man. I don't know why I thought that was Carson. He's a coon, man. You know. So that's why Zedekiah, he was set up as a seed, but he grew up as a willow. He never had the chance to be a strong, mighty cedar of Lebanon. And like David was a cedar of Lebanon. You know, Hezekiah, Uzziah, Josiah, they were cedars, man. But this guy, he's a puppet king, right? So let's read on in 17:6.
Verse 6. And it grew and became spreading, and it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature.
See that? Of low stature. No, not even really a king, man, right?
Whose branches turned toward him,
Right?
and the root thereof were under him. So it became a vine and brought forth branches and shot forth sprigs.
Meaning it was very lowly. All right, go on.
Verse 7. There was also another great eagle with great wings and many feathers.
Now this dealing with the ancient Egyptian empire, right? Chiefly Pharaoh Hafra. And we went into this, right? This is Pharaoh Hafra, which is the king of Egypt during this time. He's the great eagle, right? We're gonna go through it and break it down. Now, if you want the dates, like if the brother, you want the dates for Pharaoh Hafra, we got it's 589 to 570 BC. All right, 589 to 570 BC. Let's go real quick to Jeremiah chapter
44 and 30.
There you go. I was gonna start at 29. That's the spirit.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 44 and verse 29. And this shall be a sign unto you, saith the Lord, that I will punish you in his place, that you may know that my word shall surely stand against you for evil. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will give you Pharaoh Hafra, king of Egypt, into the hand of his enemies, and into the hand of them that seek his life, as I gave Zedekiah, king of Judah, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, his enemy that sought his life.
And he said that because Judah, as we read this parable, they trusted and they hoped that Egypt would save them from Babylon.
Right.
And the Lord said, all right, since you trust in Egypt, I'm going to kill this king that you trusting in, man. Straight up. I'm going to destroy this man because you don't want to deal with your punishment. You're trying to run away from the punishment and hide among the trees of the garden amongst this tall eagle, Pharaoh Hafra. So I'm going to kill him. Because Zedekiah, as we read on, he wanted to rebel against, he actually rebelled against them, man.
I got a precept on that.
God,
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 42 and verse 13. But if ye say, we will not dwell in this land, neither obey the voice of the Lord your God, saying, no, but we will go into the land of Egypt, where we shall see no war, nor hear the sound of the trumpet, nor have hunger of bread, and there we will dwell. And now, therefore, hear the word of the Lord, ye remnant of Judah. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, if ye wholly set your faces to enter into Egypt and go to sojourn there, then it shall come to pass that the sword which ye feared shall overtake you there in the land of Egypt, and the famine whereof ye were afraid shall follow close after you there in Egypt, and there shall ye die. So the Lord already told him straight up and down, look, this is what's going to happen. It's already prophesied it unto you. If you don't want to hearken and get down into it and flee into Egypt, I'ma get you even more, man, and cast everything down even more.
That's right.
Come. And what we're reading about was already prophesied in Ezekiel 12, verses 8 to 15. Right? That's why it says, woe to you that go to go to Egypt for help. Right? I'm gonna start at verse 12, Ezekiel 12 and 12. And the prince that is among them shall bear his shoulder in the twilight and shall go forth. They shall dig through the wall to carry out thereby. He shall cover his face that he see not the ground with his eyes. Right? Like they said, he was brought low. Right? He had to carry that burden on his shoulders. Right? You know how hard it is to get your integrity back? How hard it is to build your name back up? Right? They pretty much put him as the yes man over the nation of Israel. Right? They made it what they call it. It was a covenant with him. They called it a covenant with him. But I would say they pretty much gave him an ultimatum, I would feel like.
Right.
You get down with it, you get put to death.
Yeah.
Right? And my net also will I spread upon him, and he shall be. So the Lord put a net upon him. When you put a net upon something, you gathering it in. They're no longer free. And taking it to my snares, and I will bring him to Babylon, to the land of the Chaldeans. Yet shall he not see it, though he shall die there. Right? So when we get further on in it, you're going to find out that the Most High judged them bad.
That's
So
right.
the Lord set it up that he would go to Egypt for the help, just so he could get, everything that was set up by the Most High. He set up man for an appointed time, the room for an appointed time, then the next kingdom. Well, you can't force the Lord's hand.
That's right. That's like telling your son he went off and you say go to your room and they go ask your mother for or try to escape the punishment. It's like the punishment. Or ask the older brother. Right? Well, you're gonna make things worse, man. You're only gonna dig yourself in the deeper ditch. Mom, do I have to go to the room? Hey, let your so-called father find out that you asked your mother, man. You looking for her to help, you should have went to your room. So that's what Israel is doing, man. Remember, we the son of the Most High. We're looking for help instead of taking on our or accepting our punishment. You got it, Yardan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
God, it's Bible archaeology, right? I want to
Who
read
is written
a
by?
small little Alfred Horace and John McCrae.
So you gotta get that book, man. There you go.
Kind of go nasty. It's page 91. A puppet king was put on the throne in Jerusalem, but Egypt's dream of a revived empire was soon crushed by Nebuchadnezzar and his Babylonian army, and Egypt narrowly escaped invasion. Egypt did not come to support Jehoiakim's support when the Babylonians attacked Jerusalem. So you can't put your trust in these nations.
That's right. I got this pulled up. This from Wikipedia for a puppet monarch. That's what they call it, or a puppet king. A puppet monarch is a majority figurehead who is installed or patronized by an imperial power. Or like the president, all of the presidents are puppet kings. Trump, Biden, Bush, they were all puppet kings because they don't really run this kingdom. And you got to be a fool to think that Joe Biden actually is calling shots. You have shadow forces and spiritual wickedness and high places really calling the shots, man. Right? It says patronized by an imperial power in order to provide the appearance of local authority, right? Because they'll listen to Zedekiah, right? But Zedekiah is not really calling the shots. while allowing political and economic control to remain among the dominating nation. See that? That's plain.
And it's a lot of movies like that that Babylon has. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's a lot of movies like that, right? And a lot of TV shows where it touches on like you might have the mayor, and if somebody's above the mayor, he kind of whispering stuff in his ear. You can't do that. What are you doing?
Right.
You have really got to do X, Y, and Z. He kind of just nodded. Yeah, you're right. Because that, well, you got it.
So like, there was a series on Netflix, The Family. And the family was shadow heads that worked behind the scenes that was really calling the shots. And they was into all of the politics. They was into everybody's head. They was in everybody's pocket. And they was called, quote unquote, the family. And everybody had to obey them, man. They had to deal with it. They didn't want the fame, right? Hey, I believe there was a man, I believe one of the Rothschilds, I can't remember which one, he said, give me control of a nation's money, or give me control of the money, and I don't care who make the laws, right? So he don't want to be on the forefront. He just want to control the money behind the scenes. He don't care who you set up to be making the laws, the president, the governor. He just want to control the money. If you control the money, you control everybody. That's the shadow heads, man. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. During this time, the king of Babylon, they were the shadow figures, and they wise men and princes. But Zedekiah was the puppet king, like we're going into.
Okay, I got a precept. This
I got
Romans 13:1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Yahweh. The powers that be are ordained of Yahweh. Right? The reason that Israel went into Babylon into captivity, because they kept setting up idols. Right? They kept doing abominable things in the land. So the Lord set up the most wickedest of the wicked to rule over them. Right? Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of Yahweh. Right? So if you're going against these powers, and like the brother said, if you go into your mother after your father said the decree, you resisting the power. Right? The power structure in the house. Got the Most High, Yahweh Shah, man, woman, child. Right? Resisteth the ordinance of Yahweh. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Right? Because the end of his life was damnation. Right? He got put to death. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Right? So the rulers are only a terror to good works. Look at Daniel as an example. Right? Daniel got set up second in charge in Babylon. Right? So he is not the terrors are to those who are doing good works, it's to those who are lawless and continue in their own ways and make themselves idols, make themselves gods, and resist the ordinance that the Most High set up.
That's right. And I
got
go ahead. No, you got it. I go after you.
It's Jeremiah 27:9. Outside of verse 8. And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which would not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, until I have consumed them by his land. Therefore hearken not to your prophets, nor your diviners, nor to your dreamers, nor to your enchanters, nor to your sorcerers, which speak unto you, saying, ye shall not serve the king of Babylon. So this man Zedekiah, he had a lot of people in his ear. Let me jump down to the point. Verse 12, I speak also to Zedekiah, king of Judah, according to all these words, saying, bring your necks under the yoke of the king of Babylon, and serve him and his people, and live. Why will ye die, thou and thy people, by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence, as the Lord hath spoken against the nation that will not serve the king of Babylon? Therefore hearken not unto the words of the prophets that speak unto you, saying, ye shall not serve the king of Babylon, for they prophesy a lie unto you.
There you have it, man.
You got something?
Oh yeah, I just want to pull this up real quick. I found the who had the quote. It's Meyer Anschel Rothschild, right? You see this Edomite right here? Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws. Right? That's from Esau himself, man. Right? So these are the guys that run things behind the scenes, man. Why you voting and thinking Biden, his descendants, which is him coming back on the earth, right? Because these Rothschilds and Rockefellers, they teach their sons how to execute global domination and worship the spiritual demon Satan, right? And be the figureheads of the unknown world. There's a whole nother world that Jake, you in the voting booth, you don't know what's going on, man. Right? The Most High set these guys up behind the scenes, man. And they have priests. They have a priesthood that they have. They have a high priest. They have an altar that they sacrifice to. They have tongues and different things that we have. They have a tabernacle all on the left-hand side, right? And they worship in the spiritual demon Satan while you voting, you know? You
Hey,
got it.
remember how I believe the king of Tyre, he had that breastplate and he was missing stones, right? He was missing certain gems. Just proving to you how they do things on the left hand side, right? When it comes to sacrifices and their priests and the order of their things. That even they got breastplates, you know?
That's right.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 22, and verse 21. And say unto him, Caesar's. Then saith he unto them, rend therefore unto Caesar the things which are of Caesar's, and unto God the things that are of God. So Yahweh Shah was keeping the commandments, man. He was keeping, he wasn't rebelling. Like everything had to be in order. And so you fleeing into Egypt, you fleeing, taking your own counsel and your own understanding is off, right? It's the book of Baruch, chapter 1, right? And I'm going to start at verse 11. And pray for the life of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and for the life of Belshazzar his son, that their days may be upon the earth as the days of heaven. And the Lord will give us strength, right? So if they got down under Nebuchadnezzar like the Lord had commanded, they said they would have had strength and lighten our eyes, and we shall live under the shadow of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and under the shadow of Belshazzar his son. And we shall serve them many days and find favor in their sights, right? So if they would have got down with what the Lord had told them, right, they would have found favor, but they refused and rebelled and got destroyed.
And that's Slocky, real quick, Amos Slocky. That's how it is with your son. You tell your son, look, go to your room for a week. Hey, if he do that, look, it's over. But if he start sneaking out the window and trying to call somebody to come get him out, and hey, you're going to make things worse. Slocky, Amos.
Salaki, a perfect example of that is Nehemiah. Right? Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer, man. He was risking his life for the king. And what happened in that? They got to go and build the wall and set up the foundation for Jerusalem.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And
hey,
then
Zerubbabel was a bodyguard, man.
God.
You know?
Salaki, and talking about people of the underworld, Adolf Nicholas. That was what they called the Black Pope, right? He came in right around the time Obama was elected, right before Obama was elected in 2008, right? So he was the superior general of the Society of Jesus.
What's his name? I'm gonna pull it up.
Adolf Nicholas Pakshan. Here you go, right here.
Adolf Nicholas. I was gonna pull it up on the screen for you.
He just died May 20th. Right, but he was what they called the Black Pope. So everything that went on in the Vatican, it went through him. Right, they got the Pope that you see on the forefront. Then you got the Pope of the Secret Society of Jesus. Hold on, what they call it? It's called the Superior General of the Society of Jesus. Right, so all things that happened in 2008 and so on and so forth. Right, on the left hand side, this man was in charge of all that. He was the one calling the shots. Like the brothers said in the comments, the Bilderberg group and all that. This is who they had to answer to.
I got a precept. This Wisdom of Solomon, where we brought this out before, chapter 14 and verse 23. Right? See that? You got these guys. There's a lot of these guys, man. Right? And I never heard of this man till today. See that? Right? So this Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and 23. For whilst they slew their children and sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites. So these guys behind the scenes, see this Black Pope, he's the Black Pope, and the Rothschilds, they have secret ceremonies. The public ceremonies are your Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. That's a public ceremony. You can go to that. They'll let you come in. You can wave to Snoopy and Big Bird, and you can go and see these. What's another major public ceremony? The 4th of July fireworks, right? You can go to that, but there are ceremonies that you can't even go to, man. Not even LeBron James can't go to these. Jay-Z, Diddy, hey, Trump can't even go to some of these things, man. These things are for the higher ups, right?
Members
The
only.
shadow figures. And they
Con,
have secret ceremonies and strange rites, you know?
I got precept. Right.
Con.
Going into what the brother was going into, man. Right? Because you got to understand, it's an elite of the earth, man. It's the book of Judith, chapter 2 and verse 2. Right? I'm going to start at 1. And in the 18th year and the 22nd day of the first month, there was talk in the house of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Syrians, that he should save, avenge himself on all the earth. So he called unto him, right? So this is going into him avenging all of the earth. So this is who he called. He called unto him all his officers and all his nobles, and communicated with them his secret counsel, and concluded the affliction of the whole earth out of his own mouth. Then they decreed it to destroy all flesh, and that they did not obey the commandment of his mouth. Right? So if you wouldn't obey it, hey, he would have tried to put you to death, man. He called all his officers, right, his damn chief men, right, all his nobles, and communicated them with a crafty counsel. It said a secret counsel. There's no telling where they was, right? Men couldn't get to them, right? They was probably underground. It was a secret counsel. And this is at the top of the heathen to take over the whole earth.
See that?
Got a precept.
Con.
It's Proverbs 20. I got two Salakia. Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whatsoever he will. Right? And this is Ecclesiastes 10 and 4. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, leave not thy place, for yielding pacifieth great offenses. Right? So only if they chilled out and didn't try to leave their punishment, it would have been cool like we was bringing out. It would have been cool. It would have been kosher. Because most I put it in Nebuchadnezzar's spirit to do that of Israel, because they kept sinning. Right? You got to face your punishment like a man. They end up trying to flee. Right? And that makes situations worse. Brothers brought out the examples.
That's right.
I got a precept too. It's in Psalms chapter 106 and verse 35. I'll start at verse 34. They did not destroy the nations concerning who the Lord commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. Right? That's why you got Jake's trying to join the Freemasons, right? The Shriners, become a 1%er. Right? We're trying to cleave to the ways of the other nations. Right? Because our forefathers, they kept the commandments. The righteous ones did, but the ones who were hard-headed, wanted to follow their own heart, they went and tried to be all these other things. And they served their idols, which were a snare to them. Like you said, Jake want to be so much like them. Like LeBron James, before he go on the basketball court, he do that whatever he do with his hands. Yeah, pat on his, throw up the sixes, kiss his heart, and all that stuff. Right? Yeah, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Right? Thus were they defiled with their own works and went a whoring with their own inventions. Right? So a lot of people in these industries, right? You got whistleblowers in the industries talking about, yeah, you got to do a blood sacrifice, to get big. And it's always higher up celebrities always have people dying next to them. Right? They be sacrificing their kids, sacrificing their mom, sacrificing their brothers, so on and so forth. Right? So they sacrifice unto idols. Right? That's not shown out in the open, like these holiday parades that they have. These things are done in secret.
That's right. I was going to say, too, a lot of these guys, they turn out their sons, man, by sacrificing them. You got to make them homosexual. You got to bring them to parties, and you got to let your son get popped by a bunch of old Edomites. You got to kiss your son on the mouth. Celebrities always down like the brother went into. Look at Will Smith's son, man. Kissing him on the mouth. Had him get popped by an Edomite. Now he said this dude Tyler Creator's his boyfriend, right? He shaved his eyebrows off. A lot of these guys they have handlers, right? You have handlers, man, who actually manage. You got MK Ultra, right? They manage and control these people's actions, man. You gotta know what's going on. These sports be rigged, right? By these things going on behind the scenes. People, you ever watch these people on sports or TV? They be zoning out. They have keywords. There's a clip with Al Green.
Al Roker.
Yeah, Al Roker, man. His keyword is Holy Ghost. If the right person say Holy Ghost around him, you seen that, bro? Amos?
Yeah, he's like,
No, I ain't see that. Al Roker?
Yeah. Al Roker, man.
What he do?
All of these guys be all bugged out.
What he do if somebody say Holy Ghost?
I'm gonna pull it
You
up.
gotta pull it up.
Brothers have
that's
seen
something
it.
you gotta pull up.
Yeah,
So
we gotta deal with it.
Salakia, yesterday we had the Boondocks on because we was talking about Tyler Perry, and the Boondocks have an episode where they're mocking Tyler Perry, right? And they call him Winston Jerome, and he was it's wild. He said pretty much on the episode, you know, the Boondocks kind of throw some truth out, but they got to make it folly for people to watch it. So pretty much, he said the so-called white man. So-called white Jesus told him to dress in drag to get people to watch his stuff. He said it was good. At the end of it, pretty much, he said Tyler Perry was raping all the people. Because if you ever notice, they always stay in the Tyler Perry shows. They never venture out and do anything else.
Yeah.
It's always just Tyler Perry.
His little puppets.
It's like, you know, yeah, Winston
That's right.
Jerome was his name on it. It was. And they had a song on there that they were singing, right? He was saying it's all right to cross dress for God.
See that?
Wow.
And that's true. I never noticed that they can't go nowhere else. Like I just saw they bringing back that TV show that they had back in the day, man.
House of Pain.
Yeah, all them guys they want to do something else, but they gotta come back.
Right, slaves.
Slaves, madness, man. And Tyler Perry got a plantation. I believe he owns hundreds of acres of land, man. It's like that movie Antebellum. It's like if you haven't seen Antebellum, that's how you treat these people, man. You take them out their life and bring them back to the damn plantation.
The lady was like, you remind me of my grandkid that I ain't seen in so many years. Excuse me, I have to go drink some more Kool-Aid. That's what they kept saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
See that? So I got this pulled up for brothers that don't know about the Al Roker situation. And there's plenty others, right?
Yeah,
With
Beyonce.
athletes. Yeah, Draymond Green, Beyonce. Lucky. Can brothers hear?
Wow.
Well,
What about now? Brothers can't hear that?
No, I can't hear it.
Still can't hear it?
nah. You put captions on?
Nah. I'm gonna have to pull it up on my phone.
God.
All right, Salakia. I thought brothers could hear it. I have to pull it up. All right, bear with me. All right, so this thing is real, man. And we only go into this because Zedekiah, he had to experience this, but back in the ancient times.
Ain't nothing new under the sun. Ain't
Right.
nothing new. Esau read the scriptures for a reason, you know? Trying to figure out, some stuff. What was done,
All right, here it
How
is
to
right
repeat
here.
the same things. John, you got it.
Nah, Salakia. Right, Salakia for the phone, but I'm gonna play it.
I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Matt Lauer and Al Roker. What's up with the junior high
Salakia. So he's going to be normal to the other guy, Matt Lauer, says that his key trigger word, then he's going to start bugging out.
I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Matt Lauer and Al Roker. What's up with the junior high Make it real awkward. That's exactly how it has a certain amount of distance between the bodies. Exactly. You're high. Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of
Damn. What?
Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll, as Mark Cohn says in his
Oh,
You see that? See that? And it's so these guys, they have handlers, they have spells put on. People come in and they throw up witchcraft and curses on them, and their mind be all jammed up, and they don't know what's going on. You know, this place is an illusion, right? But we gotta finish this parable out. All right, so let's go back to Ezekiel chapter 17 and what did we leave off?
7.
7 times. Right? Ezekiel chapter 17 and 7. So these guys, man, this thing happens every day. All right.
It's Ezekiel chapter 17, verse 7. There was also another great eagle with great wings and many feathers. And behold, this vine did bend her roots toward him, and shot forth her branches toward him, that he might water it by the furrows of her plantation.
Right. So Zedekiah, as his low-hanging tree, he stuck his vines not toward the living waters for nutrients and support. He stuck his vines toward who? The king of Egypt for support. That he can be nourished and replenished by Pharaoh Hophra to fight against the Babylonians. Right? Any tree that's planted by living waters, the tree understands that this is where I would get my power from. Zedekiah believed that if you take his roots and bend them towards Pharaoh Hophra of Egypt, that he would have power to take down the Babylonians. You know, let's go to Jeremiah 37 and verse 5. Let's prove that. Jeremiah chapter 37 and 5.
Look at Jeremiah chapter 37, verse 5. And it reads this. Look at Jeremiah chapter 37, verse 5. Then Pharaoh's army was come forth out of Egypt, and when the Chaldees that besieged Jerusalem heard tidings of them, they departed from Jerusalem.
See that? Because he hired the Pharaoh to help him. Go on.
Then came the word of the Lord unto the prophet Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Thus shall ye say to the king of Judah that sent you unto me to inquire of me, Behold, Pharaoh's army, which is come forth to help you, shall return to Egypt and to their own land.
Right.
And the Chaldees shall come again and fight against this city and take it and burn it with fire.
See that? So there was no trusting in Egypt, man. He sent his roots and planted them towards Egypt. Egypt came and helped them out one time. The Lord said, what the hell is going on? Jeremiah, go tell this man that's never going to happen again. Next time you try to get help from Egypt, they're going to be destroyed by Babylon, and then Babylon's going to burn the city with fire. That's what Ezekiel chapter 17, where we left off, is making reference to. Right? So let's go back to that. Ezekiel chapter 17 and verse 8.
Ezekiel chapter 17, verse 8. It was planted in a good soil by great waters, that it might bring forth branches, and that it might bear fruit.
Right?
Then,
go on.
That it might be a goodly vine. Say thou, thus saith the Lord, shall it prosper?
Right. Shall you, thinking that you root yourself by your enemy, by the heathen, the Egyptians, you think that's going to make you a goodly vine? Are you going to prosper because you trust in the oppression and Pharaoh to help you? Right? That's what the Lord said. Shall it prosper? Go on.
Shall it prosper? Shall he not pull up the roots thereof and cut off the fruit thereof, that it wither? It shall wither in all the leaves of her spring, even without great power or many people to pluck it up by the roots thereof.
You see that? So the Lord said, you're not going to trust. I mean, you're not going to prosper. You could try to trust in Egypt if you can, but we just read that the Lord told Jeremiah to tell him, look, that whole thing is going to be shut down and your whole city going to be burnt with fire. So Ezekiel chapter 17 is a riddle or a parable dealing with the destruction of ancient Judah and the kings of Judah, right? This is all before the book of Daniel, the first chapter. This is the foundation. But we have to go through this chapter. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 19, right? See if we can finish these few verses. Ezekiel chapter 19 and 1. Ezekiel 19 is another riddle, another dark saying dealing with these same brothers, Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, Zedekiah, and their nephews and or son, Jehoiakim. But it's parabolic in Ezekiel chapter 19. So let's read that Ezekiel 19 and 1.
Ezekiel chapter 19, verse 1. Moreover, take thou up a lamentation for the princes of Israel, and say, what is thy mother? It's like a lioness. She lay down among lions. She nurtured her whelps among young lions.
Right, read it again from the top, Abakashah.
Moreover, take thou up a lamentation for
A
the princes of
lamentation.
Israel.
Slaki, when you go to the notes, it says a metered. This for the brother that's real diligent. If you want to know what a lamentation is, a metered 3 beat plus 2 beats chant, usually composed for funerals or fallen leaders. See that? So it's a chant or like a song that would be rehearsed by the people when things went left. You know, so we're taking up a lamentation. We're speaking about the downfall of Judah, right? So let's read verse 2.
Verse 2. And say, what is thy mother? A lioness. She lay down among lions. She nurtured her whelps among young lions.
So our mother, or their mother, is the land of Judah. That's what the mother is. All right, let's get the classic, Galatians 4 and 26. Right? And the young lions are the kings that came out of Judah. All right. And we have to go through this to set the foundation, like we keep saying. That's why brothers pulling precepts from Jeremiah, Ezekiel 12, right? 2 Kings. You know? Let's bring that out. Galatians 4 and 26.
This is Galatians chapter 4, verse 26. For Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all.
That's plain. So our mother is Jerusalem. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter, 2 Ezra, the 10th chapter, about our mother. Right? This whole thing, 2 Kings 10, 2 Ezra 10 is a parable. Right? Let's see where we should can start off.
I got it. It's the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 10.
44.
And verse 44. This woman whom thou sawest is Zion, and whereas she saith unto thee, even she whom thou shalt see is as a city builded.
Right. So this woman, when you read this parable, is the mother. She mourned for her son that was lost. Right? But the mother is the land of Israel, Judah. That's who the lioness is. That's why it's a feminine lion, because our mother is a woman. Right? So the Lord said in this again, Ezekiel 19 and 2, and say, what is thy mother? A lioness. She laid down among lions. She nourished her whelps among young lions. Right? Whelps are cubs. Like if you've seen the movie Lion King, Simba, he's a whelp, a cub. Right? Let's read on. Ezekiel 19 and 3.
Ezekiel chapter 19, verse 3. And she brought up one of her whelps. It became a young lion, and it learned to catch the prey. It devoured men.
So this young lion is Jehoahaz. Right? I'm going to pull it back up. I'm going to pull back up the timeline so you can see these kings. Right? Jehoahaz is the king that is making reference to in Ezekiel chapter 19 and 3 that Judah brought forth. One of her whelps, Jehoahaz. All right. So we can go on. Well, actually, let's go to 2 Kings 23. Let's read 31 through 34. Right? 2 Kings chapter 23. Let's deal with it. It's a
2
precept
Kings
you need to link it up.
24 and 23 or 3.
2 Kings chapter 23, 31 through 34. And you got to listen carefully because as we read this, it's going to link exactly up with Ezekiel 19. It's going to be plain upon tables. Kingdom of Judah raised up a king Jehoahaz, right? Actually, before you go to that, Yaradan, go back to Ezekiel 19. All right, we're gonna hold that. Put your bookmark back in 2 Kings 23. But read Ezekiel chapter 19. Read verses 3 through 4 again.
Ezekiel chapter 19, verse 3. And she brought up one of the whelps. It became a young lion, and it learned to catch the prey. It devoured men.
That's Jehoahaz. Here go the point.
The nations also heard of him. He was taken in their pit, and they brought him with chains into the land of Egypt.
And they did what?
And they brought him with chains into the land of Egypt.
They took this king, Jehoahaz, and brought him to the land of Egypt. The Lord said these hunters took this young lion in a net and brought him with chains to Egypt. We're going to read that we know it's, because you may say, well, how do you know it's Jehoahaz? Let's go to 2 Kings 23 and 31.
2 Kings chapter 23, verse 31. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah.
Right.
And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold.
Right. So it means he brought him to the land of Egypt in chains. That's the same thing we read about in Ezekiel chapter 19. All right, let's go to 2 Chronicles 36. Same thing in Ezekiel 19. He took him and brought him to Egypt, or brought him to slavery in Egypt. 2 Chronicles chapter 36 and 4.
2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse
Read
4.
2. Start at 2.
Verse 2. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And the king of Egypt put him down at Jerusalem, and condemned the land in 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And the king of Egypt made Eliakim his brother king over Judah and Jerusalem, and turned his name to Jehoiakim. And Necho took Jehoahaz his brother and carried him to Egypt.
That's plain. He took him to Egypt and put him in slavery. We just read that in Ezekiel 19. All right. So that's how you know Jehoahaz is that first young lion in Ezekiel 19. He was raised up and brought to chains in Egypt. So you have to fill in the blanks. You have to go through the history. So let's read on. And Ezekiel 19 and 5.
Ezekiel chapter 19, verse 5. Now when she saw that she had waited, and her hope was lost, then she took another of her whelps and made him a young lion.
Right. When he was taken away to slavery, they was waiting for a new king, so they took another king and raised him up. Right. And that's Zedekiah. That's what we just read about in Ezekiel 17. Right. He raised up Zedekiah. Right. Go on.
And verse 6. And he went up and down among the lions, became a young lion, and learned to catch the prey and devoured men. Verse 7. And he knew their desolate places, and he laid waste their cities, and the land was desolate, and the fullness thereof by the noise of his roaring.
Right, because he had an alliance with Egypt, right? And they made them Babylonians flee the first time. Go on.
Verse 8. Then the nations set against him on every side from the provinces, and spread their net over him. He was taken in their pit.
The nations are likened unto poachers who took this other lion captive. Go on.
And they put him in ward and chains and brought him to the king of Babylon.
Then we just read that in 2 Kings, they put Zedekiah in chains and brought him to Babylon. Right, go on.
They brought him into holds that his voice should no more be heard upon the mountains of Israel.
So there you have it. Right? We just read that they took this lion, carried him away captive to Babylon. We read that in 2 Kings 25. Read that all throughout the precepts earlier. All right. That's the foundation you need before you go open up the book of Daniel. You want to understand the downfall of Judah between Zedekiah, Jehoiakim, and Jehoahaz. Right? That's why let's go back to Daniel chapter 1. Right? And that's first chapter straightforward. That's why we went through the history and focused on that. Daniel 1:1.
Daniel chapter 1, verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it.
That's 605 BC. Right? Some dates may say 604, 606. Go on.
Verse 2. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim of Judah into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels unto the treasure house of his God.
Right.
And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king, like of the king's seed and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
So these was mighty men, Daniel and his brothers, man. No blemish. They didn't have them big boils and acne and scabs on their face. They was intelligent. They was wise. They had manners. They were respectable. They had integrity. And they took these men to raise them up. As these are slaves taken away into slavery. Go on.
And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king.
Right.
Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
That's what you know as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right.
Unto whom the princes of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name Belshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego. And it's like nobody wants their name to be changed. You know, that's not really a good thing. That's not a good look. You know, you first of all, you're in captivity, and then you're giving it a whole nother name. And that what happened to us. So don't read this thinking, oh, that's sweet. You know, they get elevated. They don't want to be in this situation.
Right. And Salakia. Now, quick point. Belshazzar, Daniel's name. Now, this in the commentary, it says it means protect his life. So imagine somebody, your name changed from Amos to Satan protect his life. Right? That's wicked, man. That's what Belshazzar means. Shadrach, it means the command of Aku, meaning the command of the moon god. So this is horrible, man. Meshach, it means who is what Aku is, meaning who's like the moon god. Right? And Abednego means a servant of Nebo, meaning you a servant of Satan. Right?
You said one of them was Aku?
Yeah, Aku, AKU.
That's from Samurai Jack.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah. I
that
just
D
thought
from
about that.
Samurai Jack.
Yep, cool. You see that,
Yeah.
and it's spelled AKU. See that, and that coup was off, man. His mind wasn't right.
He had a perpetual hatred, and he was kind of flamboyant here and there. He was odd. He was a weirdo.
The black guy.
Cool. He was the top demon, the shapeshifter,
I
or
remember
something
that.
like that.
Con,
I got a precept. Now, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 65 and verse 15. And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, but the Lord God shall slay thee and call his servants by another name. Straight like that, man. That's in the curses, man. Are you gonna switch up your name and call you something else in the land of your captivity? Like the brother was going into, don't nobody want to have their name changed, right? Switched up into satanic meanings, or all of that's wicked, man.
that's right.
Mean precept.
That's right. So we can go on.
Verse 8. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
Now you don't eat food sacrificed to idols, man. That's for these heathen. All right, that's what he's saying. Let's go to Revelation, the second chapter. Now the wine, there's nothing sinful about wine, but he didn't want this man's wine because it was always dedicated to their so-called gods. The meat was lawful, but he didn't want to eat it because it was dedicated to their gods. All right. Let's get that real quick in Revelation chapter 2 and 20 or 19. Let's start at 19. Baba
This is
Kashar.
Revelation chapter 2, verse 19. I know thy works and charity and service and faith and thy patience and thy works, and the last to be more than the first. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols.
So the Lord not dealing with that, man. Right? You eating food set that the Lord said in Proverbs chapter 23 and 1, when thou sittest with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. And be not curious of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat, paraphrasing. So you gotta kind of know what's going on in this thing, man. All right. So Daniel was on a different level. And that's in the book of Judith too. Judith, she brought her own provisions that she didn't have to eat of the king's meal, man. You know, you got it.
Oh, right.
Go ahead, I'm done.
I was going to say, if you're hungry, you starving, you're going to accept a meal by George Bush or Obama. Kind of say, eat this pie, eat this chicken I got. You don't want to take no food from them. You know, probably spit in it.
That's right. This Judith chapter 12 and 1. Then he commanded to bring her and where his plate was set, and bade that they should prepare for her of his own meats, and that she should drink of his own wine. And Judith said, I will not eat thereof, lest there be an offense, but provision shall be made for me of the things that I have brought. So she knew what was going to go down. She said, I'm gonna bring my own stuff in advance, man. Not dealing, hey, you go and eat, you get invited by force with the Rothschilds, and they giving you food and look, no, I'm cool. Right? They may set a banquet in front of you.
Favorite
No, look,
food,
I
your favorite
brought my
food.
own. You said what?
I said your own favorite food.
Yeah, like that movie. What was that movie when they had the levels and they had the food on the levels?
I know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You said what?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that movie was crazy, man. There was like y'all from beneath, and he kind of spit down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta check that out, man. They had a banquet. You know, that's a banquet of food, man, that they have for the people. I'll find the name of it, but that's Israel. That's a spiritual movie, man. That's a real spiritual movie.
Okay, I precept.
Time.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 20. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to God. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. You cannot drink the Lord's Salaki. You cannot drink the cup of the lords and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. You can't get down with what they're getting down with. There's no fellowship, there's no eating, right? It's no getting down past this, past that spirit. No, don't eat with them at all, man, on a physical level and on a spiritual level.
Con. This Sirach chapter 7 and 15. Let thy talk be with the wise, and all thy communication in the law of the Most High. And let just men eat and drink with thee, and let thy glorying be in the fear of the Lord. See that? So let just man eat and drink with you, man. If you gotta be at work, hey, sometimes when I used to be at the plantation, man, hey, I eat by myself, man. They want to eat with you and they want to talk about, folly and madness and vanity. Look, I'm over there kind of by myself. I only eat with my brothers, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do that every break. I literally just go on a whole other side of the building just to eat by myself. Because the park is of bullocks, like it's in Sirach 38th chapter.
That's right.
And the movie's called Platform.
Or the platform. You got to check that out, the platform. See that? They put it on there. It's kind of crazy, man. I think it's wild. Amos, you seen that? Oh, man, you got, yeah.
I believe somebody got, when they was climbing up. You remember that scene?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. They kind of,
they defecated on it.
They did that to Jake. Yeah, it was to Jake too.
Lucky, I was on move. You said they did what?
I think they defecated on the food. Bad.
Yeah, it's
somebody was climbing up and he released. I would just say that.
Yeah, it's about the end of the world.
Yeah. Oh, the Jeep going up on a rope.
Yeah.
He said, "Help me."
So it's about food?
No, it's not about food. You gotta check it out. It's not about food. It's about pretty much this guy. You can sign up, or they take you by force. I can't remember where they pay your bills or your rent, whatever. If you in debt, you sign up to go into this program where you they have like 400 floors, 500 floors, and you're randomly selected by a lot to be put on the floor. And then when you're on the floor, there's food that they bring down this platform, right? Now, at the top is all of the food that you can eat. But as it goes, let's say you're on the first floor, you can eat to your liking. Then whatever's left over, it get passed down to the second floor. Then they eat. Then it passed down to the third floor. So if you like on floor 40, you got to get the leftovers of what 39 through 1 ate. And people real disrespectful in there. I'll say that. You got to kind of check it out. I kind of gave you a trailer.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
And Jake can bring or not Jake, but everybody was in there and they could bring one item with them.
Yeah.
One item.
Wow.
So let's get back to this. Yeah, we gotta get back to the scriptures. We done gave a whole movie review, man.
Good.
So Daniel chapter 1 and 10.
Daniel chapter 1 verse 10. And the princes of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my Lord, the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort?
Right. So he thought that these guys wouldn't be healthy enough to stand before the king. And this guy was responsible for them being healthy. So if they're not eating up the portion, hey, the man is like, look, you're going to chop my head off, man. I need you to eat this so you can be healthy so I can save my life. Right? You can go on.
Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king.
Right.
Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the princes of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink, and pulse to seed.
Pulse to eat and water to drink, like vegetables. Right? Give us that and water to drink. So Daniel, he provided an alternative. Go on.
Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portions of the king's meat. And as thou seest, fill thy servants.
So this is an experiment that he's doing. Daniel, he did a lot of experiments. He had a lot of plans going on. Right? Go on.
So he consented to them in this matter and proved them 10 days.
Right?
And at the end of the 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of king's meat.
So the Lord blessed them for not eating the food sacrificed to idols, and he looked a lot healthier. Go on.
Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse.
Right?
As for these 4 children, Yahweh gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams.
So these men do mathematics, engineering, physics, chemistry, botany, all types of stuff. You know, astronomy. Go on.
Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. Verse 19. And the kings communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king.
So these was the top men. They was the most intelligent, spiritually wise men, and the Most High was dealing with them, man. Like the Most High dealt with Mordecai and made him second in charge, rose up Joseph, right? The Most High was dealing with these brothers. The Most High can do that. Amos went into that earlier, man. Right? The Most High can, Proverbs 16:7, if a man's ways please the Lord, or when a man's ways please the Lord, he causes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Right? And I got a quick precept real quick. An example of that, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 39 and verse 10. This after Jerusalem is destroyed. Jeremiah 39:10. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left up the poor of the people, which had nothing in the land of Judah, and gave them vineyards and fields at the same time. Now Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, this is the king who just destroyed all of the Jews, gave charge concerning Jeremiah to Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, saying, take him and look well to him, and do him no harm, but do unto him even as he shall say unto thee. So the Lord can do that, man. He could take your worst enemy that's killing all your people and treat you well out of everybody and do what you want him to do. The Lord can do that in Jacob's trouble, man. Right? And that's hope right there, man. Because Jeremiah pleased the Lord. So when everybody else got destroyed, the king kind of became Jeremiah's servant. You know, and Daniel too, when you read Daniel the 6th chapter, the king sought how to deliver Daniel from thrown in the lion's den, man. The king actually fasted. That's how much favor Daniel had. He caused his enemy to go on a damn fast to try to deliver Daniel. You know? So we can go on.
Hey, thy enemy shall entreat thee well in the day of evil.
Right.
That's what, yeah.
Jeremiah 15 and
So, Daniel chapter
1. Barak the Most Highest, he put Jeremiah was in prison too, and the Lord got him out of there. You know?
Daniel chapter 1, verse 20. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm.
Right.
And Daniel continued even into the first year of King Cyrus.
Right. Brothers got any last precepts? That's Daniel, the first chapter. Breakdown. We made good time through the Spirit.
Brothers got to be a scholar in this thing righteously.
It's the word of revelation. Chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, right? So, hey, brothers out there, highlighters, right? The damn pens. If you jotting down in the Bible, right? If you got a journal, whatever the case may be, you should be writing down all of these breakdowns, right? All of the precepts. Should be getting everything in order. Remember, therefore, how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So man, that's manyfold. And the Lord could blow out your candle at any time, man.
That's
Right?
right.
Not always talking about him. He could come and visit you, man. Right? Or hell could break loose. You don't know what hour the Lord is going to put judgment on you, and you just gotta always be on fire all the time. Because you don't know what's going to happen to you tomorrow, later on this night. Right? You done closed up the laptop. I don't want to hear that. I may already know that. Hey, brother, keep eating. Keep eating the milk, the bread, the meat. Continue to flourish in this thing, man, right? And remember everything you have received and heard. You know?
That's right. I got to close the precept. This classic, the book of Revelation, chapter 22 and verse 12. Right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 22 and 12. And it reads, and behold, this is Yahweh Shah speaking, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. So the Lord, like the brothers say, coming like a thief in the night, coming quickly, man. Who knows how fast things are going to start moving, man? Right now, things are, at a smooth pace, but at any second, like earlier this year, man, there was a damn bombing in Iran that killed the general, and everybody thought that was it, man. And that happened in one day on so-called New Year's. All hell broke loose on the earth, just like that. So at any given second, it can be a false flag attack, and they could blame the children of Israel, right? It could be a damn bombing going on. At any second, it can go down. And guess what? Once that door is closed, once it goes down, once that door closed, that's it. Ain't no more going out teaching. Ain't no more going on the highways and byways, studying, reading. It's over, right? So you got to get what you can now, man. This is your portion in the land of the living, because the Lord going to judge you according to your work. Every one of us, you know.
This Psalms 34 and 15. It reads this. I'll start at 14. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. Right? Pray to the Heavenly Father, bring forth your supplications. Right? Pray for your brothers. Pray for Yasharala, and that this kingdom be, taken down, right, swiftly. Hey, and one more thing, Salakia, Esau, they put out an announcement. I was going to do a cold cut on it. A whole bunch of truckers, they said, look, we're upset. We're very, very upset that, what's going on with the election. Now Trump, it's not looking like he's going to win. They said, look, we're going to form a huge line. Right? Not only that, this is stop like the traffic, right, and the supply of food being brought to the markets. And Edomites, they own a lot of trucks. They own a large amount of trucks. A lot of these Edomites,
That's right.
So you got to be vigilant at times. That's why I bring that out and know what's going on.
This Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 10. For Yahweh is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which he has showed towards his name, and that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister. Right? So just tuning into this live stream, that's laboring. Right? Getting the understanding so you can break it down to the next Israelite. They get understanding. Right? The Most High is not going to forget you staying up watching these videos. Right? You reading that extra chapter. You reaching out to brothers for counsel. Verse 11. And we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope until the end. Right? So everybody should, like the brother said, you should be on fire. If you feel that flame slipping, reach out to somebody. Ask somebody for help. Right? Ask for precepts. Right? Because some days you're gonna catch more hell than you did the previous day. Right? But you gotta endure. Right? So don't count slack. You just watching these videos and taking notes. That's laboring. Right? You're not just doing it just for yourself, you're doing it for all that desire learning.
That's right. Wise words from the brothers, man. Right? From the brothers. All right. Like we always do, we're going to begin to take questions, right? On a conference call, brothers can call in if they have questions. You can call in on a number. It should be on the live stream posted via the Cold Cuts channel and the Watchmen for Israel channel. You can call in at 213-603-9096 if you do have questions. And the PIN number is 94809-305. Again, that you should see it on your screen. It's 213-603-9096. And the PIN number is 94809-305. Brothers, got any last words you want to bring up? With that,
read. Brother got to read.
Come on. Straight like that. Brother
Right.
Riot.
Brother Amos.
You're done.